Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, blessed ones, peace and praise, grand rising, happy new year, wherever you are in this world. By the time you're hearing this, it will be 2023. It's been a lot of wins and losses in 22, but we made it. And as always, thank you all for listening and giving me a minute. I'm just gonna say, it's been wild. I really enjoyed 2022, turned 35, and there's been some things, got in a car accident, you know, relocating, had about 3, 4 relationships, potential relationships or whatnot, heartbreaks, all that. But it's been great overall. God is good. I didn't realize just how much so many things has happened in a matter of a short time, even because again, 12 months is a long time. A lot can happen in a year. A lot can happen in a month. A lot can happen in a week. A lot can happen in a day. Like I have expressed on one of my previous episodes where I felt like I found the one, my mind was made up, I had discernment, all that, and things didn't go the way that I had wanted them to. But, things don't always go as we planned. But at the end of the day, God has equipped us with the wisdom and the tools to be able to, you know, manage and readjust ourselves. But I do want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope everyone who are planning to have New Year's resolutions has already started working on those resolutions. People who have intend on changing careers, changing and mending, building relationships, whatever it is that you may want to do or have planned to do or intention to do, to find ways to make it happen. Not everybody's going to make it throughout the year. Not everybody's going to even be able to feed off that same energy and that same vibe that you present. So I just wanted to encourage you all and uplift you all and tell y'all that despite what happened in 22, you made it to another day. First and foremost, that's the most important thing. We making it to another day. It's good to see another year, but the day is what matters. All right. Like I like I mentioned, you know, a lot went on. I lost some folks, lost some artists, actors. We lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of personal family members. But I do want to give a shout out to everyone who have been, part of this pod, whether it was last year, whether it was the year before. Thank you. Shout out to, know, Jolie Noel. Shout out to my friend Dom and my boy Fo Mills. Congratulations to him. He had just recently got married a couple months ago, and he's been elevating. Shout out to one of my best friends, Toy, as well, and you know everyone who have missed Kima Love. Just shout out to all of them. Like there's been many other people who participated in the journey of this podcast. I mean, some people might have thought that we would have been at 100 episodes by now, but like I said, I take my time with these episodes. Sometimes I don't do it weekly. I don't always do it bi-weekly. Sometimes I might do it once a month. Sometimes I might do it once every couple months. Like I want to be consistent, but like I say, sometimes things don't go as planned. It's always good to rebrand, readjust yourself. You know what I'm saying? I wonder what this year has in store. Okay, because you know I have talked about my car accident. I talked about my relationships. I have talked about, my family and myself and, my faith and my relationship with God. I talk about these things all the time. It's just, that's just my life. Things sometimes can be a little repetitive, but that's just my life. I think it's important, we keep going. Sometimes those those routines is what builds us and what keeps us in a structured realm. It's just kind of like parenting, right? If your children continue to hear you say no, don't do that, stop doing that, or this is how you do that, they're going to become repetitive. Where it's like sometimes we might not think that it can be aggravating sometimes, but it's a routine, it's a structure. Or just like when you're in a relationship or dating someone and there's certain things that might aggravate your partner or vice versa, after a while, it becomes repetitive. I don't expect people to just remember things like the first time, but again, it has to go to having that will and that discipline and desire to do so. It's like anything else. Like if you are, someone who studies scripture or knows scripture, or try to live by those laws and standards of the Bible of Christ, you have to study. It's just anything else. It's like muscle memory. I talk about this all the time as far as with my brother who is a professional fighter, exercise fighter. Like I wish I was, you know, in as good shape as he was. Not saying that he's freaking like a fitness junkie where like, oh, he doesn't eat certain things, but it's still, he's a little bit more structured than me. Like I can go a week and be healthy, and then the next week I can go back in my slump. So again, it's just all about what you desire. Like me, I always say, I want to be a podcast mogul one day. So I have to be consistent, consistent, consistent. I don't want to sit here and say that I'm going to be podding every day, but the more I get familiar with my audience, the more I get familiar with how things are done, because I do things by myself. Hopefully one day I will have a team, but as of right now, I do things on my own. And I talk about this all the time, so I don't really have to reiterate, but I was just doing like a recap. You know what I'm saying? So, I just want to, highlight some things that happened in 2022 and, just move forward, because it's been one of those years. It's almost like the year was like, I can still remember certain things that happened in 19. And it's like almost like, man, COVID hit us in a certain way where it's like, people are still trying to recover from that. I mean, though it's still alive and well, it's almost kind of like, hey, okay, it's an afterthought. Just my opinion, if you want. But there were some things, some stuff had happened in my life throughout this year, or the year of 2022. Some good, some bad. And, I will say I have I have discovered a lot of things about myself that I'm realizing, some good, some bad. Some things I like, some things I'm like, okay, I need to change this. Something I'm like, okay, I might need a little bit more time. And that's all it is of what it is life. When we make these New Year resolutions, it's something that we probably want to do different, or something new we want to do. Like it's always going to be, hey, I want to remove people out of my life that's not going to be there, and then hey, you're back with that person, or you're back, in that, situation, as far as like friendship, just or generally, like, you can you can distance yourself from people who no longer service you, and you not have to feel bad about it, because again, it's no ill will, but sometimes again, it's about elevation. I remember like when, my friend of mine, we was having this conversation as far as like whether platonic or romantically, like more important, what's more important, not what's not, what is, what isn't, but what's more important, the past, or like more so the history. When I say or the future, history means like, hey, y'all have rapport with each other. And I always say I think it's case by case, but then I say maybe the history gives you a little bit more leeway. History gives you a little more the benefit of the doubt opposed to the future, because you have to make it to that future first. How do someone who you never met before, never know, have more influence on you than someone who you know for a while, have rapport with? I mean, you can't live in the past, but you do have a memory, going back into that muscle memory. Okay, so moving forward into 2023, I will continue to maintain the relationships that serves me, and the relationships that are important to me, while still we're continuing to build it up. And I am opening the doors for new relationships, platonic, romantic, whatever. Because again, all my romantic relationships, like I said, I've been in about a certain level of relationships, but again, you know, not everything is not everything's promised. And that's the thing. Sometimes when you get involved with certain people, whether platonically or romantically, all it takes is you to say the wrong thing, one wrong thing. Now, me, I'm a little bit more, I'm a little bit more fair. I'm a little bit more understanding. So some people can say something to me that might come off as, oh, you was trying to disrespect me, or it was a little not really my cup of tea. But I understand. But I can't. You can't always give someone that same grace. Like me, I give people benefit of the doubt. Sometimes I might say things that might offend people. People might feel a certain way about it, and I apologize and might not understand the magnitude of that. But I apologize for it. But I just say, okay, let me fix it. As far as like, okay, maybe it came out wrong or whatnot. But that's what happens. Ignorance is a bliss. In 2023, you know, I want to get into that position where everything's elevating, everything just goes up. Like, I mean, I'm 35, like I mentioned that, like, again, I have a son, I have, a job, I have certain information that I can use, but I always just been blessed. That's one thing that I always cannot, cannot stress the fact more, is that I always been blessed to have the support system. And that's another thing when it comes to, this year, is having and keeping those people who belong around. A lot of times we might take people for granted because other people take advantages of us. So it's almost like the people who's always been there, like you listeners, which who I think I will never take out for granted. I appreciate all of you for listening. If you're a first time listener, thank you. If you've been listening to all my episodes, thank you. If you've been there from the beginning, thank you. If you went back to the old episodes, listen to me on YouTube, listen to me on Spotify, Apple Music, on any platform. However, if you're like someone who I know from social media, like whoever's listening, just thank you because again, I always feel like hey, I'm special, you're special, but again, I'm not a big time podcast personality like the Brilliant Idiots or the Rap Radars or the 48 Hours and all these other podcasts who might have the people with more notoriety. Maybe one day I'll get there, but again, I'm still just up and coming. I'm on this is episode 61. Okay, so as the new year approaches and the new year is here, for those of you listening on January 1st and beyond, as you continue to set your resolutions and continue to make goals, remember as each goal, it's okay to you know not reach them all at that on that deadline point, as long as you keep focusing on it. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you this, right? So I knew this woman for a long time. Like me and her used to always hang out and might be talk on the phone or probably like go to movies now. But we was never in a relationship. And like I said, this was years ago. Like when I was still in my 20s, we didn't had children and been married and all this stuff. But it's like I never knew. Well, I ain't gonna say I never knew, but you know, it's almost kind of like why is it when you're in a relationship or that person's not in a relationship, you kind of start getting like a for sure thing. Like this person will say, "Oh, I liked you this way. I liked you back then and this and this and all. You still feel this way." But I'm like, why would you? Why wait now? Because it's like now it's almost kind of like it's too late, right? I was actually I was actually kicking it with someone who I used to work with. We was cool, but it's like, hey, we wasn't never like talking on one of those levels. But we at some point got in touch and we was kind of like kicking it for a little bit, and then maybe for like a month, and then after a month, it just kind of went out. So it's like you can't, we gotta get those type of relationships. Like, hey, we can't, we too old to be doing that. Like, I don't want to have any woman, whether platonic or whatever, or anybody in my life that's kind of like, again, we can have fun, but I don't want to have anyone in my life who already has intentions on leaving. If you're going to add to my life, let's add some joy, let's add some information, let's do these things. I done had a lot of relationships throughout my life, throughout my 35 years. Some I wish I can, mend and fix. Some I don't. Like there's current relationships right now that I feel are building slowly, but I have intentions on it being, it's something that can, be more than just hey what up or hey let's do this because again, me being an inspired author, director, podcast mode, all this, that's how you elevate is the relationships. Like when people speak on relationships, a lot of times they always feel like it's just gonna be, it's a companionship or romantic, but not. And like any type of relationship or connection between the opposite sex or the same sex, it's like it's a relationship. Me and my brother, we have a relationship. Me and my sister, we have a relationship. Me and my mom, my parents, or dad, like we have relationships. Me and my son, we have relationships. It's certain relationships. So like relationships is kind of like the umbrella, and then you have the platonic relationships. You have the romantic relationships. Then you have maybe the compassion relationships. But not to be all into that. get too deep into that. Like again, 22 was a great, despite the relationships, I had a good time. I went out. I was able to enjoy some festivities that the year had to offer. With COVID and everything kind of like hitting us in 20 and 21, it was a lot. But like in the summertime, that was a lot going on. I mean, I wasn't able to make it to something in the water again, but I did manage to make it to Juneteenth on the beach in Virginia Beach. To enjoy some good artists and up and coming um, musicians, and even in my second year in a row, going to a Christian hip hop show, and which is in Richmond, Virginia, of Domination. As 23 is here, I intend on going to more events, some solo, some with other people, but it's like you have the R&B lot, the R&B only shows, these comedy shows that's going to be coming up. I do certain events, like I want to be able to travel this year. I haven't really been able to, travel like I wanted to, but I want to be able to travel this year. And these aren't New Year resolutions. These are just certain things that I want to do. As far as like, hey, if it's not like something that I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna die if I don't do it. But it's just some plans. I don't want to say they're resolutions. I mean, they couldn't be resolutions, but it's just something that I intend on, doing. I want to continue to elevate my finances, elevate my faith, make my faith better, because it can always build these relationships up. But all in all, I just want to thank everyone for supporting me, for sharing, for being there, and for just being a good asset and part of this podcast. And as I continue to do this podcast, I hope to get more people on. I hope to, be able to be, a segue to someone into the podcast realm. I would like to learn more about podcasting. But again, for those of you who've always been supportive of me, thank you. And, just something where we're able to do together. I want to do an official countdown, even though it might already have happened. But I want to do a countdown just the sake of just for the sake of potting, because I know that somewhere someone's listening that needs to be uplifted, needs to be encouraged, who needs that motivational, who needs that inspiration to be able to count to get to their point of revelation and elevation. So think of this as not even a countdown to a new year, but just a countdown to a new perspective, a new door. So if you're listening and made it this far, please count down with me. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Happy New Day. Happy New Life. Happy Revelations. Happy Elevation. Prayers and blessings. All that good stuff. All things positive. All right. So, I just wanted to come up here again and just, thank you as always. I'm going to do this. As always, I'm going to thank you all. hopefully this year is even more prosperous, more positive, more productive. And for all y'all going out, for all those who are out, for all those who intend to go out, or all those who are just at home, still stay safe. And this is Blair. I'll see y'all. Talk to y'all next time.